Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Well, and welcome to this episode. This is Mike Saunders with the Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Mary Beth from MersaTech, and we'll be talking all about payment processing and all the things that we need to do to make sure that everything is compliant and understandable. Welcome to the show, Mary Beth.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Hey, well, let's get started with tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this field of business.
Very interesting. I guess I should say most people don't think, well, today I'm going to go ahead and be working in merchant services.
Yeah.
But it's fun and interesting because, if you have this curiosity, even if you're an entrepreneur or like the idea, you get to learn all these different businesses, hear people's stories, how they got started, if it was a family business or they got a great idea. So every day is fun and new in that sense.
Yeah.
So I really, really like that about this job. And of course that carries over to my work too, that helping me to grow my business. Somebody's done it smarter, better, faster. It's great. But I really kind of came years ago through mortgages, so I kind of had the numbers background. And of course, residual income is nice. I get paid every month based on the volume of sales that my clients do. Whereas if you have a regular job, you either wait for the check or you wait for the commission check. You have to sell or buy, repeatedly like that. So you start over every month. So this is a true building of a business.
That's an interesting concept where there's residual for you. Am I correct in thinking that is a big benefit to the business owner because you have a vested interest in their success and you're there to help them and guide them and coach them to make sure that everything is working the right way? You're not just disappearing.
That's correct. We're not like, here's your machine, go off into the sunset, I've made my money, Yep. I'll never answer your phone call ever again. It's very true. We're here to say, what are your questions? How can we help you? And then that comes to gift cards or, mobile apps that we also create. Everything is driven to increasing sales. How do we get more traffic to our businesses, which obviously helps us when their numbers are higher, so are ours, but incrementally.
Yeah, exactly. So what is your main product? If you were talking to a business owner, what is the main product and service that you present to them?
Number one is merchant services. It's how everybody walks into your store and pays you. Hardly anyone carries a credit card. Cash, I should say. They'll probably have a 20 in there. Everything is on the credit card, debit card. So it's really the norm of how people pay. And, of course, that's translating with even younger people, Google Pay, Apple Wallet. Apple Pay, Google Wallet. I kind of mix that up there. And everybody's coming out with a mobile app to try to have payment services happen through your smartphone, which is great. So that's our number one. And secondary to that, as a courtesy and a service, a lot of merchants had struggled with gift cards, punch cards, loyalty cards. People forget them or they're not loaded right or you have to train employees. But people will turn around and go home and get their smartphone. They'll carry that with them all the time.
Yeah.
And that's been a great way. And because there again with the mobile apps, if the merchant has a mobile app, they can ask their customers to download it for free, and they've just captured their contact information. People will look at a text, even if it's to swipe it and get rid of it, to say it's off. And of course, we don't encourage our merchants to bombard people, but run those specials. Let the people who have been to your place share it with other people on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere. It's an exponential way to grow your business very easily with just very simple offers.
And when you say mobile app, are you saying that it's a functional app that the merchant can then conduct different types of business through, or is it more of a means to get the text number so that you can communicate through mobile?
There's both options. The majority use it just for information and advertising. Download today, get 5 or 10% off, or you'll get our punch card, virtual punch card, buy 5, get the 6th free. And then there's other merchants who actually use their mobile app as a true payment gateway. And so we do have that capability. We provide for golf courses, restaurants, of course, are huge with it. Any place that has music, or even auto and service companies. It's awesome to say, great, here's your ability to ping out to everybody. It's time for your monthly service. And
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah, no one wants to give their email, but they're happy to download an app. And then you've got their phone number.
Yeah, which is really interesting, the perspective, because you can delete an email, you can delete a text message, and all of that. You can not pay attention to whatever you want to not pay attention to, but it's just the perception. People just, these days, I think people are more connected through their pocket with their phone.
They are.
So I think that's a really good point. Is there, with respect to payment processing, I know that I myself have a Chase card, and I went to Walgreens a few nights ago, and they're like, oh, you got a chip card, you got to put it in there and let it sit, and all of that stuff. So what is it about the chip? What does it do? How does it benefit the consumer, the merchant, and what's the confusion about it? Because I know that there is confusion on the chip cards.
There is, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners have been receiving their updated credit cards, and they'll see that some have a new chip in them. Debit cards and credit cards have the chip in for the updated ones, and not the magnetic stripe. And so when the request comes, if you're at a business, they'll say, please insert card. You'll do that, and it's still kind of random. A lot of the even big businesses, even though they have the chip reader, don't have the instruction to actually have it inserted. The big thing is that Visa and MasterCard, the card brands, all of them, it's been in Europe for several years now. We're a little slower in the U.S., but it's security. It's helping with anti-fraud. The magnetic stripe was easier to pick up, whereas ultimately with the EMV chip is what it's called, European MasterCard Visa EMV, is that when you have a chip in your card, you will someday be actually asked to put a PIN code in for your credit card. And that's even further. So if you dropped your credit card in the parking lot, someone couldn't walk into Target and use it because they wouldn't know your code. We're not quite there yet. That's another layer that's coming. But where the pain, I guess, all of this comes in, or the reasoning to pursue getting EMV chip capable terminal, is that as a merchant, and I can give you an example of one of my current clients. They're a printing company. Someone called up, saying, I'd like to order 5,000 T-shirts, the unblocked kind, and I want them delivered here. So it wasn't a face-to-face transaction. My merchant had a little, that's a little different, so he kind of Googled where the address was to deliver. Oh, it's a house. I don't think I want to do this. Called me up, and we asked for a few more information. Lo and behold, they stopped the shipment, pulled it back because someone was trying to purchase product, and then the bad guys want to sell it on Craigslist, eBay, Amazon. And then they go back to the merchant and say, you know what, I'm charging this back, and Visa and MasterCard will say, you, Mr. Merchant, will lose because your credit card terminal was not EMV compliant. And that's where the pain comes in. And maybe just to quickly clarify any confusion, restaurants, people that do service, like a dentist or an auto repair, you're having a face-to-face wet signature. The card says John, you sign John. And that's the least amount of risk, and they have less chance or really opportunity for people to try to do a chargeback. That's their whole goal. And so if we don't want our merchants to have to eat or lose, a chargeback is probably a better way to say it. So,
is there an element of a penalty or a fine if you don't have the chip reader terminals by a certain date?
There was a magic date or line in the sand of October 1st of this year, 2015, and that's really just to funnel more merchants into getting EMV compliant. There's no Visa police. The pain or the penalty comes if you, the merchant, experience a chargeback and you lose. You say, but I had everything. I got the 3-digit code. I got the expiration date and the zip code, everything. If the savvy bad guys know that you're got a doorstop of a credit card terminal because it's older, you lose. It's the sad pain of all this.
And pretty much the bad guys won't even need to conclusively know that. They'll just do their fraudulent activities, and chances are the merchant is going to not have that. So it just is something that it's better to be prepared.
It absolutely is. And I would encourage, any business owner listening, don't be afraid that the price of these new EMV terminals, they're less than your smartphone. They're $200, maybe $400 if you need a wireless that actually prints out a physical receipt. We've got the EMV swipers that fit on your smartphone or tablet. They're like $60 or $100. So it's a painful lesson to learn if you didn't, because you were trying to pinch a penny to lose hundreds.
Yeah, one transaction that is denied because of your failure to comply pays for it 2 or 3 times over, and that's just the first one.
Yeah, and as consumers get more and more savvy, they're paying attention to, oh, that's the kind of credit. I mean, they'll quickly know there's no place to insert a credit card.
Right.
So they can quickly, flag or find things. And it's just part of, advancing your business. People, like I mentioned, are great to want to upgrade their smartphone or get a better computer. But this is at the price of your business. It's just really important to stay ahead.
That's a really good point is, it's one thing to think about upgrading certain things that you only use once a year or whatever that example might be. But for many merchants, this is something they use dozens and dozens of times a day, if not hundreds of times a day.
Yes, exactly.
And is there any other misconception with this type of a terminal that a merchant should need to consider? Because maybe it's a good idea to check, maybe this is a good time of year to check rates on your current processor because, I've been hearing I ought to go to EMV, and so if I'm going to make some change, maybe I can get a better rate on my processing fees anyway.
That'd be really smart. A lot of businesses, they're super great. They check their insurance rates. As they check their home or auto insurance, they think about shopping it every couple of years. And it is a good idea. Back in 2012, I guess it is, when the Durbin Act went through, and the debit cards was a huge thing in our industry before EMV. And from there, a lot of merchants are still on that older pricing where a debit card goes through at a much lower rate than a credit card because you're not extending credit. It's coming right out of their bank account. And so a lot of merchants are paying in the 2 to 3% when they should be down to like 1.5% on debit cards. I have a couple ice cream stores. They get a ton of debit cards. They got kids with preloaded debit cards. And if he had to pay a high transaction fee and a high fee just because it was swiping as if it was a credit card instead of a debit card. So that's kind of my long answer to say, the machine still works, you're getting your money, but it's time to look at your rates and fees because things have changed. And we work off of interchange pricing, which I think is the fairest for merchants to understand. There's no buckets or tiers or you're lumped over here in strange accounts. And we see a lot of funny math.
Yeah.
Not so funny to the business owner, but yeah.
Well, it's I think some people could feel like it's just not worth the hassle, right? Because I'm sure you hear this a lot. Even just checking to see if they could save some money on their processing fee, they would feel like it's intrusive or it's a lot of work or I got to get 200 months of statements and I don't want to dig it all out or I don't want to be hard sold. What is that process just to check and see what the savings could be?
Yeah, that's really very easy, and I'm glad you brought that up. We really only need one statement. There's a handful of banks that, I hate to say, back bill, so we would need 2 consecutive statements because they don't give you all their fees on the first month. They back bill it in the second month. But that's a little rare, but it's really super easy. No one here ever bothers anybody. Either it's the right time or it's not. We ask that you fax in a statement. And then we just ask if there's any upgrades or changes, if you're suddenly going to start doing shows, anything that might be a little different animal. And we just give you a simple report that says, of these exact same cards, here's what you paid with your current processor. Here with these exact same cards is what you would pay with us. And there's no front fee or what do you say, here's your opening fees, and then it's going to change in 6 months. Our contract is our contract. Okay. And we are direct with all the processors, so we have the same fees and rates as the big banks. I've taken many accounts from large banks. And, of course, it's always painful when you, like one of my own dentists, I did a rate review for her, and I saved her almost $400 a month. And she was livid because she had her equipment loans for her dental equipment at her bank, too. And I'm like, I'm sorry, don't.
Wow.
I'm just telling you. But, once they know, and so it's well worth it, at whatever time of the year that it's good for merchants to do that.
Isn't it kind of like you mentioned dentist, that's a preventative maintenance thing because if you don't do your regular cleanings, you could have cavity. Then you could have another problem. They could have another problem. Well, if you do the same thing in your finances, and we're talking about business, there's certain things that you should be checking quarterly or twice a year or once a year, and maybe payment processing should be one of those, and maybe another one could be your long distance. There's all kinds of checklists that you should be checking on, but if it's as simple as, here's my last month's statement, tell me what I can save. Wow, exactly. how that's not hard. And then now let's say that the $400 a month, that's a number that you're jumping all over, and what do we need to do to change? But there's certain numbers that I would say even the business owner would go, I don't know, because it's just a big hassle. So let's talk about if someone sees the savings of X and they say, what's the next step? How much of a hassle is it for them to change over, and what are the costs? Is it, a big, large investment in equipment, and is it a big old, mess and hiccups and hurdles? What's involved in that?
Actually, it's not, and I would encourage people. It's really, merchants, not to speak for all of them, but their number one concern is that they want the machine to work. They want zero downtime. And so that's what we make sure. We don't bring a new machine out or deliver one and take away their old one without any, we make sure everything is, belt and suspenders. You're not going to have any downtime. So I want to clarify that. With MersaTech, we don't have a setup fee or, initial fee to be able to have the right to process with us. It really comes down to just the cost of the equipment, what type of equipment they're going to be using. If they use their computer as a gateway, there's no setup fee at all. So I would encourage them not to. It's seamless. It's very easy that way. And, of course, we have the quick reference guides and all the technical support and people to talk to. There's a lot of hand-holding. I'll just say that. So we're a little different that way, too. It's not an 800 number anywhere. I mean, we're able to process and set up accounts nationwide. But we have 24/7 phone numbers and everything, too. And you get a live person. You're not on hold, and you're not going to a call center far, far away that you don't quite know what to do with. But I would encourage people, it's really not bad. It's not as bad as it used to be, and maybe that's where some of the thinking has been that, they're going to hijack me for an expensive lease, and I'll be stuck in it for 2 years or 4 years, or there's this upfront fee. And if by chance they have been with a processor that they're currently with and they have an early termination fee, it's like cell phone plans. Nobody wants you to leave unless you've been there 2 years or more. So we're able at our firm to say, great, if you are actually charged that fee, and if we agree to the beginning, we will pay that for them. We want this to be as easy or painless as possible. And then they stay with us.
And then what kind of contract obligation is there? What if a year from now someone else comes along and they want to change out of your plan? Is there some commitment that way?
We have like a 3-year contract, but our offer or our request is if you get say your brother got into the business or sister, and they're basically going to give it away to you for free. All we ask is that if you do get a bid from someone else, show it to us, and if we can't beat it, we'll tell you. I can't beat it. And because
there's only so much you can do.
Right. There's only so much, to be the phrase meat on the bone. There's only so much, and Visa and MasterCard get 90-some more % of everything. The only time I can think of for some of my clients that happened is, God bless them, they were family-owned business. They started expanding and grew to 5 and 6 locations. And then the monster account people that can just basically, just super, super slim margins can pick them up. So that's that. Let me say thank you. I can't help you. God bless you. Graduated.
Yeah, and you win because you save a couple pennies, but you lose because maybe the personal touch is not there, and maybe that one idea that you personally might think to give them that would help them increase their business a small percentage. That's going above and beyond the expectations, and you're not going to get that with the big guys. So there's always the give and take. And I would say, or one question that I wonder is, when you've done these comparisons, what's the biggest amount of savings that you've seen? Have you been able to save people, how much per month?
Oh, I actually I don't want to say a new winner, but the person I saved the most was just this summer. Nice small town, two small towns, have a nice 2 restaurants. I saved them $1,000 a month at one location and $500 at the others.
Good night.
I was like choking. I mean, I had my office manager. We looked at this. Are we reading this right? And if you're making, $30,000-$40,000 a month, and that's $18,000 a year.
It's you know what? It's like this. It doesn't matter whether you're making $1 trillion a month. If someone knocked on your door and you opened it up and they pulled out this briefcase with $1,500 in cash and said, have a nice day. I'll see you next month. And the next month they show up with the same, it doesn't matter whether you're going to find use for that money, and that is money that is yours that you should be accessing, but you can't access now because you're in a different plan. And I just think that is amazing to be able to show people. Do you have to change your processes? Nope. You're still swiping a card or doing whatever you're doing. It's nothing new. There's no retraining to the employees. It's just that now you're paying a smaller bill in your processing fee.
And I want to give a shout-out or congratulations to, I work with a lot of accountants, bookkeepers and accountants, people that are already looking at the profit and loss P&Ls, and they can see, I said, take a little snapshot in your mind. You can do a quick math. If they're paying anything over 3%, send your people to me. I have got accountants sending me 2 to 5 people at a time because, they don't need to be an expert, but they can sure look like a hero to their client to say, and then from there, what if that business owner was struggling and they weren't always keeping their business insurance in place? They're trying to cut corners, or they couldn't add that extra employee or 2 or grow or buy more materials. If my accountants and my team find them or just reallocate their money, it's amazing how they can grow. So we've had great success with that referral business.
Yeah, and it doesn't take large, huge percentages. It just takes a little savings here and a little savings here and a little savings here and a little increase here to make a big, massive difference in the bottom line. So, when people that are influencers like an accountant, bookkeeper, and they're seeing that that percentage, it's a quick calculation, and if it's over a certain number, you ought to check it out. So, to make a quick, easy comparison with a month's worth of statement, see if and guess what? If you come back and say, you know what, we can match that thing, well, it didn't take a lot of effort to make to confirm in that business owner's mind that they're in the best plan.
Exactly. And then they have peace of mind. If you know, that's great. There's been a handful. I had 4 computer stores out in Tennessee. I said, don't ever change. You've got killer rates, and now he can sleep at night. Great. I'm all set. I'm good. Yep. So
cool. Yeah. Well, for people that want to learn more or get in touch with you, what's the best way that they can contact you?
Great. They can always call. My direct line is 303-268-5506. Again, 303-268-5506. And, of course, they can email me. That would be wonderful. mstenzel for Mary Beth Stenzel at MersaTech.com. MERSATECH.com.
And super. Well, it was great hearing from you, learning of some of these tips and tricks, and I'm sure you are really happy and fulfilled when you're able to deliver those kind of savings to businesses, because these days a couple extra dollars at the end of the month really does make a big impact.
Makes a difference. It sure does. Yeah, and then we end up being, not that we're a business advisor, but they'll bounce ideas off us, and we can refer people to say, I think you should meet so-and-so, and there you go. It's been wonderful.
Exactly. Great. Well, thank you so much, Mary Beth.
Thank you, Mike.
You have a great day.
You.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.